Oh, there you are, little one. Come in. The fire crackles, the storm rumbles outside, and in the grim darkness of the far future, there is always time for a story. And here I am. Your grandpa Grimdarius has already turned the first page. Oh, little one, today we won't speak of warp demons or superhuman conquerors of the galaxy, not of lost races of the old world or rulers of the end times. No, no. Today we speak of secrets. Something written in binary code or ancient grimoires, concealed, hidden, and yet always there, right before your eyes. Today we speak of Easter eggs, or at least one of many. Oh, yes. Do you know what an Easter egg is? No, no. Not those colored eggs halflings hide in the Moot fields during festive days. Oh, no. I speak of those fragments of truth disguised as jokes. Of those names, those faces, those stories scattered by scribes and archivists throughout the tomes of Warhammer, like breadcrumbs left for attentive wanderers, homages, parodies, echoes of other worlds. Because you see, even in the dark realms of Warhammer, where the gods of chaos roar and cities burn beneath green moons and ever-looming threats, even there the creators of the world smiled, and in that smile they hid. They intertwined other tales. They borrowed heroes from distant universes and masked them, twisted them to fit the mad laws and, well, why not, added a healthy dose of mirth. The lore of Warhammer Fantasy and its elder brother Warhammer 40,000 are not just universes built of war, magic, and monstrous horrors. Not only, they are worlds that breathe stories already told, filled with citations, references that hide between the lines, and only the most attentive manage to uncover. And those who miss them on first reading? Oh well, there's always your trusty Grandpa Grimdarius. Take, for example, the long-forgotten Inquisitor Obi-Wan Sherlock Clouseau, a figure who embodies the wisdom of Obi-Wan Kenobi, the relentless mind of Sherlock Holmes, and the unexpected irony of Inspector Clouseau. A fusion that echoes in the shadows of Warhammer as a triple reference, both bizarre and fascinating. This character, introduced in 1987 in the Rogue Trader Rulebook of Warhammer 40,000, is a creative blend that combines three iconic figures. The first is Obi-Wan Kenobi, the wise Jedi Master from Star Wars, known for his serenity and lightsaber prowess, a symbol of guidance and peace in a galaxy consumed by war. The second is Sherlock Holmes, the brilliant detective created by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, famed for his razor-sharp intellect and powers of deduction. And the third is Inspector Clouseau, the clumsy, comical investigator portrayed by Peter Sellers in the Pink Panther films, who, despite his many mishaps, somehow stumbles into success with baffling consistency. Even though today Obi-Wan Sherlock Clouseau is hardly considered canon, his name perfectly reflects the nature of Warhammer's Inquisitors, individuals with extraordinary powers, committed to hunting heretics, mutants, and psychic threats. The name, with its blend of wisdom, intellect, and a touch of humor, suggests an inquisitor who knows how to balance authority and seriousness with a lighter, more ironic side. an interpretation that seems ready to unveil both the darkness of his mission and a sardonic smile beneath the cloak. Or little one, another example, is the fearsome war boss Gazgul Thraka, the legendary leader of the orcs. His name, rough and powerful, is like a war cry across plains scarred by endless battles. But did you know that his name, just like that of a certain historical figure from our own world, curiously resembles Margaret Thatcher, the former British Prime Minister? Oh yes, it's one of those strange coincidences that feel like they've leapt straight out of a tabletop game, where stories intertwine and names seem to take on a life of their own. Gazgul Thraka and Margaret Thatcher. Two figures who, in completely different ways, embody an idea of unshakable power and leadership, unafraid to break rules to achieve their goals. A case of archetypes summoned forth, where choices from reality intertwine with those of fantasy, giving life to legends that cross the borders of the possible. And in all this, the beauty of Warhammer is precisely this. Every corner, every figure, every name holds the possibility of hiding a message, a reference, a citation that connects this world to the one we know. The creators of Warhammer have always smiled. Subtle nods hidden among the shadows, revealed only to those who know how to look. Yes, all our lore is full of these Easter eggs, and yet they are not merely jokes or playful tricks. They are bridges, little bridges between fantasy and reality, between imagined worlds and lived stories. They create connections that stretch like roots beneath the soil of a tree that never stops growing. So the next time you dive into a Warhammer story, be it fantasy or in the 41st millennium, alone, with friends, or together with me, remember that name, that figure, that battle might be a nod to something greater, a secret that only those who truly seek will ever uncover. Oh, do you remember when we mentioned the Moot and its halflings? Good. Now listen carefully, because these small folk deserve far more than a fleeting mention. In the heart of the Empire, protected by slow rivers and gentle hills, stretches the Mootland, or as its inhabitants simply call it, the Moot, a corner of land seemingly forgotten by time and by war. Here among rows of hops and banquet-laden tables live the halflings, creatures small in stature but with big hearts and even bigger appetites. Don't look for the heroism of Middenheim's warriors or the grit of Stirland's farmers in them. No, no. Halflings are different. Their art is cooking, their magic is hospitality. Their sharpest weapon, a well-wielded fork and a perfectly timed apple pie. And yet, don't be fooled by that plump appearance and those rosy cheeks. Deep down, halflings are clever and invisible when they want to be. They've served the Empire as scouts, spies, silent messengers in the shadows. They live simple lives, yes, but they are not unaware of the world. On the contrary, they watch it, smell it, and if danger comes, they vanish like the scent of a well-simmered stew. The Moot is an exception, a haven, a land where war is only a distant echo and supper is always the most important moment of the day. But don't be fooled. Even among pots and blooming meadows, mysteries hide. And some stories. Oh, some stories are not born on battlefields but in kitchens. And one of those stories involves a group of heroes quite familiar. But that we'll talk about soon. But let's return to food and kitchens. Oh yes, halflings love their home cooking, peaceful in the Moot. But some of them have a spirit full of adventure. For some, life in a hole in the ground is just too small. Not a nasty, dirty, wet hole, filled with the ends of worms and an oozy smell, nor yet a dry, bare, sandy hole with nothing in it to sit down on or to eat. A halfling hole, and that means comfort. Oh, some of them, quite unexpectedly, have taken on another role far from the Moot's banquet tables. Imagine this, halflings becoming chefs for ogres. Yes, exactly so. It's not a joke nor a strange dream. When ogres, those hulking monsters with appetites as massive as their fists, roam through the lands of the Empire, they need a cook capable of satisfying their endless hunger. And who better than a halfling? Small, nimble, perfect for dancing between the pots, even amid total chaos. Halflings have found themselves working with ogres, cooking jaw-dropping dishes that could feed a band of giants or a herd of tyrants. But it's not just about cooking. It's an art. Halflings, with their innate talent for handling the trickiest of ingredients, manage to impress even the most hostile creatures with meals that bring a touch of delicacy and flavor even to the wildest lands. And in return, they receive more, let's say, protection from the ogre's hungry maws. The job isn't always safe, but when your roast rhinox is the best in all the border tribes from the Empire to Cathay, even an ogre might become temporarily friendly. The scent of sweet pipeweed, warm bread, and whispered tales around a fireplace. Doesn't it remind you of something? Because what the Empire calls the Moot casts a long shadow upon another world, a world of slumbering dragons, wandering wizards, and rings forged in fire, a world you know well, the Shire. You see, the Moot and the Shire are like twins separated at birth. Both are havens of peace in lands plagued by war, both inhabited by small folk, incredibly resilient, both lovers of beer, good food, and the simple life. But it's not just a similarity in atmosphere, no. It's a tribute, a respectful bow from the scribes of Warhammer to the one who, with his pen, gave life to one of the most beloved worlds of all time, Professor Tolkien. The halflings of the Moot are in every pumpkin grown, in every laugh beneath the lanterns, or perhaps at some 111th birthday party, a clear homage to the Hobbits of the Shire. And if you listen closely, if you tilt your ear during a quiet night in the Moot, you might almost hear a raspy voice whisper, "Not all that is gold glitters." But be warned, this tale is not only about similarities, it's about encounters, parodies, about a group of heroes who seem to have stepped out of another world. Oh, don't worry, I'll still call you little one, and certainly not my precious. Finally, we arrive at a secret that's not so secret anymore. You've heard of the Moot, of its plump halflings and its hills scented with butter and sage. But tell me, did you really think such a peaceful corner could remain unguarded in the great and cruel world of Warhammer? Oh, no, because even the Moot has its heroes. In fact, it has a company, a very peculiar company, a band of travelers, of dreamers, of half-mad fools, known in the most respectful whispers and the most drunken songs as the Comradeship. They are not an army. They are not a knightly order. They aren't even officially recognized by any authority of the Empire. Yet, wherever halflings are in trouble, there they are, invisible as shadows, quiet as a stew just set on low heat, and deadly, oh yes, when needed. Who are they? We'll see them one by one soon, but know this, they did not meet by chance. They were called. By what? A promise or an oath as old as friendship itself? Maybe simply by a shared meal and a sincere laugh. Their refuge? A modest inn hidden among the trees of the Moot. Their purpose? To protect halfling lands and all who find refuge within. Their motto? That's lost to time. But they say it begins with a wizard and a king, a dwarf and an elf. Boss said like that, it might as well be the start of a tavern joke. And while the wars of the Empire are fought with steel and gunpowder, they fight with heart and courage through rhymed banter and well-placed blows. A band of unlikely champions, a distant reflection of another fellowship from another world. Well, you've surely guessed it. Perhaps from the title of the tale, perhaps from your keen mind or that subtle sense of déjà vu lingering between the unspoken lines, because this comradeship, though hidden among the hills of the Moot and the dusty pages of Warhammer's tomes, is not entirely original. Oh no, it is an homage, a loving tribute, a wink from scribes who love fantasy as much as we do, and aimed at those with a nostalgic enough heart to recognize it. Yes, little one, the comradeship is the Fellowship of the Ring, dressed in the slightly odd and tattered garments of Warhammer. Each member, each name, each dynamic is a distorted echo, sometimes ironic, sometimes poetic, of that legendary company that marched from Rivendell to the very jaws of destiny. But nothing should be copied, only changed, and perhaps even improved. Well, we try at least. A loving parody, a clever game, a group of characters who know they walk a path already traced, but with well-worn leather boots and a flask always full. In the cruel world of Warhammer, where every light is fated to fade, even a story born in another universe can find a place and turn into legend. So ready then? Your grandpa Grimdarius will begin to tell their tales, each of this unlikely company, one at a time, as one does with the best dishes, slowly, respectfully, and with a pinch of magic. Pour a bit of warm ale, light your pipe, because there shall be a gray wizard, a king without a crown, a gruff dwarf, and an elegant elf, who decided, for a reason perhaps even they no longer remember, to walk together, not toward Mount Doom, but toward the nearest inn. And now we truly begin with the first of the companions, the most magical of all the comradeship, the seer, the counselor, the pyromaniac, with a scruffy beard, Olorin the Grey Wizard. Already the name Olorin, does it ring no bell? Oh, it's the ancient name, forgotten by most. The true name of Gandalf himself, spoken only among the trees of Lorien and in the silent halls of Valinor. In Tolkien's world, Olorin was the hidden identity of the Istar before he became the Grey Wizard, the one who walked among men with staff and stern gaze, and in Quenya, High Elvish, it means he who gives dreams. And so, in Warhammer, here he appears again, not as a Maya, but as a wandering Grey Wizard, a traveler of imperial roads, bearer of secrets and smoke, keeper of forbidden knowledge, perhaps a member on leave, or maybe exiled from the Grey Order of the Shadowmancers. But certainly, the College of Magic in Altdorf is no place for one such as him. A spellcaster in a tattered cloak, with eyes full of wisdom and pockets full of inexplicable things. He's not the most powerful among the Empire's wizards, but without a doubt, he is one of the strangest. They say Olorin travels from city to city without purpose, speaking to owls and mirrors, offering inconvenient advice to governors, and vanishing before facing any consequences. He appears only when fate calls him, or when he smells a freshly baked apple pie. And like Gandalf in Middle-earth, Olorin is not the leader of the group, but its spark. Well, given his magical order, it would be better to say its guiding shadow, one that projects, wraps around, and holds the company together, even when the knives start flying and the insults between a dwarf and an elf get a little too creative. Who knows if one day, from humble wandering Grey Wizard, our Olorin will not ascend to brighter heights. From Shadowmancer, wielder of the lore of shadows and servant of the magical wind Ulgu, to blinding hierophant of the lore of light. From pipe smoker in the alleys of the Moot, to voice of truth beneath the golden columns of Altdorf. Olorin the White doesn't sound so bad after all. That is a destiny yet unwritten, but light often rises from shadow. Olorin does not just cast spells, he casts ideas and doubts, but above all, hope. A strange, crooked kind of hope hidden behind a tired smile and a carved staff. But still, hope. And in the old world of Warhammer, where even heroes wear rust on their shoulders and regret in their hearts, one like him still makes a difference. Oh, the one who sits in the shadow, hood drawn over his eyes, calloused hands wrapped around an old, worn-out sword, and a gaze that's lost. Lost where? No one knows. Perhaps in memories, in a kingdom that exists only in his mind, or more simply, at the bottom of his tankard. Aragand, the Layabout, a name that is, in itself, an enigma, a joke too elaborate not to hide a grain of truth. Aragand, Aragorn. Does that sound familiar? Oh, of course it does, because Aragand is the crooked shadow of the great king from the north. But forget noble-blooded Dunedain. Where Aragorn walked the lands in silent dignity as Strider, Aragand wanders with unsteady steps and a dusty cloak. Where the former hid his nobility like a burden, the latter flaunts it like an obsession. One day, I'll be king, he says. There's a throne waiting for me beyond the edge of the map. And everyone nods, smiles, then returns to drinking. They say Aragand truly has royal blood in his veins, but no one has ever bothered to find out where that blood comes from, nor what kingdom that phantom throne might belong to. So far, his only kingdom seems to be that of forgotten taverns, spontaneous brawls, and dramatic escapes. But which kingdom could it be, looking at the maps of the old world? Ah, here begin the wagers and wild theories. Some whisper he's the heir of a forgotten clan in the mountains of Norska, fled long ago before the madness of chaos cults consumed it all. Others swear his house once ruled a small barony in the Reichland, now swallowed by swamps and imperial bureaucracy. And there are even voices full of madness or envy that speak of a bloodline blessed by Hish, carrying long life and ancient memories, or a lineage of men and elves protected by Isha, guardians of nature gifted with longevity to preserve it. And what if he were an heir of Sigmar, just no longer in the mood? Oh, best not to go further, lest we draw the gaze of some Templar or Flagellant. Who knows? And yet there's something about Aragand that rises above the stench of beer, pipe smoke, and half-baked stories. A sense of honor that returns when least expected, when a comrade falls, when an innocent is threatened. When the Moot calls, he answers. Aragand is no king, not yet, but maybe one day he will be. Not of a realm made of castles and crowns, but of unshakable friendship, of shared battles, and of peace around the fire. Perhaps even the laziest wanderer with the right companions, the comradeship, can find his place, not atop a throne in a white citadel, but in the heart of a legend. Oh, now we finally speak of stone and grudges. Let's talk about Giblit, the dwarf. Ah, this one might just be my favorite of the bunch. Maybe it's his gruff demeanor, maybe it's that vein of melancholy beneath his hard shell, or perhaps, let's be honest, it's that thick, unkempt beard that reminds me of someone I see in the mirror every morning. Anyway, Giblit, the dwarf, or rather Giblit the failed slayer, as those he dislikes love to call him. Oh, and how he loathes that name. Now that you know it, mind your tongue unless you want to catch a few well-aimed insults, or worse. You must understand, little one, Giblit was meant for a glorious end. He was ready to march naked, armed only with his axes and his wrath against the vilest beasts of the old world. A true slayer, they said, but something went wrong. Oh, but wait, do you know what a slayer is? It's the ultimate fate of a disgraced dwarf, a warrior who has lost their honor and sworn to die in battle, facing foes so terrible they live more in legend than in memory. Bare-chested, with crimson crests of dyed hair, armed first with fury and then with axes and runes, slayers do not seek fame, they seek the end. Redemption exists for the dwarfen folk, but it must be earned with a glorious death, in battle, in duel, alone against a worthy adversary. And if fate keeps letting a slayer win and live, well, he's truly unlucky. But at least a few names get crossed off the book of grudges. But Giblit? Oh, Giblit, it seems he failed. Did he break the slayer's oath? Did he flee a battle? Spare a foe? Laugh too loudly at a funeral? The tales contradict each other. He never speaks of it. And when asked, the usual answer is a headbutt to the teeth. It seems, in a rare twist of fate, his clan did not exile him with hatred, but with something worse, pity. They gave him the most impossible quest for any dwarf. This is your path to redemption. Make peace with an elf. That's what they said, without mercy. And so, dear Giblit has wandered ever since, with a vein constantly pulsing on his forehead and a tone of voice that starts with a growl and ends in a snarl. But beside him, out of duty and atonement, or maybe just out of stubborn habit, there truly is an elf. Legolas. Slender, elegant, and irritating as is typical of his kind, and exactly the sort of companion a dwarf should despise, as is also typical of his kind. And yet, day after day, he stays by his side. Giblit is a warrior, gruff and stubborn like the stone he was born from. He fights like every blow might redeem a past never spoken of. And perhaps that's exactly what it is. There is something of Gimli in him, of course, but there is also more bitterness, more sarcasm, more Warhammer, where honor weighs like an anvil, and every smile is a crack in the shame. But despite the burden, when battle rages and his comrades begin to falter, it's he who remains standing, with his axe stained red, breath short, with a glance toward the elf, only to check if he's still alive, and a grunt that, perhaps, is a laugh. As I teased with Giblit, now it's time to meet the elven side of the comradeship. Legolas, the elf. If Giblit is the rough and beating heart of the group, Legolas is his perfect opposite, smooth, immaculate, and utterly irritating. Legolas, oh yes, not Legolas. No, far too obvious. Legolas, which sounds almost like a stifled sneeze, a name that, in itself, seems crafted to make anyone who gets the reference chuckle quietly into their beard. He comes from the woods, of course, but don't expect him to mention it humbly. No, he speaks of his homeland as if reciting the titles of a poem you never asked to hear. He moves with grace, dresses as if attending a banquet every evening, and fights, he fights like a storm in mid-dance. Elegant, lethal, always perfectly poised. But that's not what makes him interesting. No, it's the way he tolerates Giblit. Or better yet, the way he grows attached, day by day, never once admitting it. Because theirs is a strange kind of magic, not born from grimoires or runes, but from irony, from mutual endurance, from glances traded between insults while the world collapses around them. Legolas, with his flawless arrows, never mussed hair, and that cursed habit of never sweating, is the balancing note to the group's chaos. A near caricature of Legolas, to be sure, but not without dignity. He's fully aware he walks in a world where even a pointed-eared princeling can be trampled by a drunken troll. Where is Legolas truly from? Here the whispers multiply like leaves in a forest breeze. The first guess would be Lorin, the sacred realm of living trees and whispering spirits, home of the wood elves. But me? I doubt it. No true elf of Lorin would so easily abandon their sacred groves. My theory? He's an expatriated Eoneer. Remember our past tales? Yes, the Eoneer, still wood elves, guardians of the forest, but not entirely enslaved to the fey magics of their land. Free-thinking, wary-eyed, and just wild enough to wander. Legolas, a Sindar from Mirkwood, and Legless, an Eoner from Lorelorn. Two sides of the same coin, two reflections from mirrored worlds. And then there's the tale, passed around like spiced wine and backroom taverns, of slaying a giant war elephant in the deserts of Araby. A towering beast, trunk like a siege ram, and he, Legles, agile as moonlight, leapt upon its back, climbed it like a hunter born of shadow, one arrow, silver-tipped, straight through the eye. True? False? Legles does not say. He only smiles. What other wonders does this elf from another world conceal? It said he joined the Comradeship only because he was taking a morning stroll through the Moot woods, and Giblit jumped him, either begging or threatening, depending on the version, to form a blood bond, and he accepted. With one arched brow and a sigh so long, so theatrical, it could have filled a whole opera. But you know what your grandpa Grimdarius says? Sometimes in the sigh lies the hero. Because a friendship forced, when it survives, becomes something more. It becomes brotherhood. It becomes story and myth, even if it carries a ridiculous name. And now, the comradeship is whole. But the tale, oh little one, the tale has only just begun. Ah, little one, now the company is complete. We have walked together through the woods of the Moot. We have met its heroes, and we have only revealed a small fragment of their lives. And yet, in the heart of these quiet lands, among laughter, mugs of beer, and arrows shot with precision, there is something that goes beyond simple adventure. Because not only in Middle-earth, but also in the old world of Warhammer, where danger may lurk around every corner and magic permeates every breath, every day could be the beginning of a new saga. There is a bond, an invisible thread that unites these unlikely companions. A thread woven through unspoken words, shared journeys, and the dawns rising upon their weary shoulders. Imagine for a moment that the company faces an impossible mission: to destroy a cursed artifact, something that threatens not only their land, but the very natural order of things. A ring of Warpstone, forged by dark hands, destined to corrupt whoever touches it. A forgotten magic item of the Lich Nagash, the undying king and the supreme lord of undeath. Oh, and by the way, do you know what other title Nagash is called by? He who shall not be named. Though let's keep our Easter eggs focused on just one fantasy series for today, shall we? Anyway, oh yes, destroying a ring. Ah, that would be a daunting task, no doubt. But perhaps, precisely because of that, it would be the adventure that defines them. Maybe someone among them, like Giblit, would find himself struggling with his dark past, while Aragand might walk toward his future, to become king. And Olorin the Grey Wizard, it is said that when the darkness seems deepest, he knows how to light the way. But don't expect him to say much about his plan. But which other heroes could join this company? Who knows, little one? Perhaps a figure like Frodo, a small hero with a big heart, could join the cause. A simple halfling who suddenly finds himself bearing a burden far too heavy for his shoulders, but who keeps walking step by step just to save his land. And why not a Sam, always ready to lift everyone's spirits and, perhaps, jump into a duel with the first one who threatens the company? Ah, Sam, always more useful than people think. A halfling who defeats a forest goblin arachnarok spider all by himself, why not? Or maybe Boromir, a proud and noble man, whose loyalty might be sorely tested during the journey, but who deep down only wishes to protect his companions and his homeland. The Comradeship could begin its journey toward the mountains of Morn, to the Firemouth, where danger is never far and the most terrifying creatures reign unchecked. There, in the sacred volcano of the ogres, who would dare to destroy the one ring of Warpstone? Oh, but now I'm rambling and perhaps daydreaming while waiting to actually read these stories. And as the journey continues, remember, every great story begins with a step, and every hero must face their own legend. When the road is uncertain, the company is all that matters. If ever you hear the sound of laughter rising among the tavern smoke, or the whistle of an arrow or an axe flying through the air, know that it may be them, the heroes of the Moot, the Comradeship, a fellowship of the ring in a world that perhaps doesn't deserve them. Oh, little one, our tale comes to an end, for now. The fire burns low, the storm still rages beyond these walls, but somewhere out there, in the grim darkness of the far future, stories do not rest. And soon, very soon, your Grandpa Grimdarius will be here once more with my dusty tomes and ancient codex in hand, waiting for you, always ready to share the next tale. Farewell, little one.